Imagine a land so vast that it feels endless. A land where rivers stretch longer than highways, where forests breathe like living beings, and where nature once ruled without resistance. Now imagine that same land today. Massive cities glowing at night, football stadiums shaking with millions of voices, somber rhythms echoing through streets, and a nation standing under the world's spotlight. This is Brazil. But Brazil was not always this way. Its rise was not easy. Its journey was not clean. This is a story shaped by nature, conquest, slavery, ambition, survival, and resilience. This is Brazil, then and now. Long before Brazil existed as a country, this land belonged to its first people. Indigenous tribes lived across the Amazon rainforest, along the Atlantic coast, and deep within the interior. They hunted, farmed, and traveled through rivers that acted as natural highways. Life moved slowly, guided by seasons rather than clocks. There were no borders, no ownership of land, only coexistence. Nature was not something to conquer, it was something to respect. For thousands of years, this balance remained untouched. Then, in the year 1500, everything changed. Portuguese ships arrived on Brazil's shores, marking the beginning of colonization. What began as exploration quickly turned into exploitation. Brazil became a colony of Portugal, not to be developed, but to be used. At first, Brazil's value lay in its forests. Brazilian wood, rich in red dye, was shipped back to Europe. Soon after, sugar plantations began to dominate the landscape. Sugar was gold in the global market, and Brazil became one of the world's largest producers. But this wealth was built on suffering. To power this system, millions of Africans were forcibly taken from their homes and transported across the Atlantic in brutal conditions. Brazil became the largest destination of enslaved Africans in history. Slavery was not just an economic system, it shaped society itself. Entire generations lived and died without freedom, while the wealth they created flowed overseas. Even after centuries of exploitation, Brazil remained deeply unequal. When gold and diamonds were discovered inland during the 1700s, hopes of national prosperity rose, but once again, the riches benefited only a small elite. Cities grew, but opportunity did not. Education was rare, power was concentrated, the majority lived in poverty. In the early 1800s, something unusual happened. Unlike other colonies, Brazil became the seat of the Portuguese monarchy itself for a time. This elevated its status, but did not erase inequality. When Brazil finally declared independence in 1822, it did not become a democracy, it became an empire. A new flag flew, but old systems remained. Slavery continued, inequality deepened. And when slavery was finally abolished in 1888, later than almost anywhere else, no real support was given to the newly freed population. Millions were left with no land, no education, and no future. The consequences of this decision still echo through Brazil today. Soon after, the monarchy collapsed, and Brazil became a republic. On paper, the country was modern. In reality, power stayed with wealthy landowners and political elites. Cities like Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo expanded rapidly. Factories replaced farms. Immigrants arrived from Europe and Asia chasing opportunity. But growth came fast and without planning. Massive urban populations formed. Wealthy districts rose next to overcrowded slums. These communities, later known as favelas, became symbols of both survival and inequality. Brazil was modernizing, but unevenly. By the mid-20th century, Brazil was desperate for stability and progress. This desire opened the door to military rule. In 1964, a military dictatorship took control, promising order and development. Roads were built, industries expanded, Brazil experienced economic growth, but freedom disappeared. For over 20 years, censorship ruled the media. Political opposition was silenced. Fear became normal. Yet even in this period, Brazilian culture refused to die. Music, cinema, football, and festivals became forms of resistance. Especially football united the nation. Each World Cup victory felt like proof that Brazil could still shine. In the 1980s, the dictatorship finally ended. Democracy returned. Hope returned. Brazil re-entered the global stage with confidence. The economy diversified. Millions rose into the middle class. International investors took notice. Brazil became one of the world's largest economies. But progress revealed new problems. Corruption scandals exposed deep flaws in leadership. Crime surged in urban areas. Inequality remained stubborn. The same divisions rooted in colonial times still existed, only now they were amplified by modern life. Brazil hosted global events, the World Cup, the Olympics, showcasing its beauty, culture, and energy. Yet behind the celebrations were protests demanding better education, healthcare, and fairness. The world saw both sides of Brazil, brilliance and struggle. Today, Brazil stands at a crossroads. It is one of the most culturally influential nations on earth. Its music, sports, and traditions inspire millions. Its agriculture feeds the world. Its rainforest holds the future of the planet's climate. And yet, it continues to wrestle with deforestation, political division, and social inequality. Brazil today is not defined only by its skyline or stadiums, but by its history. A history written in pain and perseverance. A history that explains why joy and sorrow often exist side by side. Why celebration and protest share the same streets. From ancient tribes to modern megacities, from untouched jungle to global powerhouse, Brazil is not a perfect nation, but it is a resilient one. And perhaps that resilience, forged through centuries of struggle, is what truly defines Brazil, then and now.